Welcome to session 11. Training's coming at you. Training's coming to your home and office today, to your business, and we are excited for our session today. So we are covering maintenance on your cabinet. So maintenance on your dust filtration, maintenance on your disposable liner. We're going to touch on a few of the items that you need to replace and to make sure that you're up and running for our busy season. What else do we have for you? We have a project. We are going to be sandblasting on an crystal award. We're going to do a front and back etch, a two-step carve, or I would like to say just a two-step etch process. Just to kind of give a little bit of a unique look to your award, to kind of separate your award from those traditional awards that we see often. If one of your clients is looking for something a little different, this is something that you can offer them. We also have April joining us today from our custom mask department. As you know, April's been with us many sessions, and today she's going to show us how she set up our artwork for today's session. So we have her joining us today. So let's kind of get started into our cabinet maintenance, and we're going to have a video in just a moment, and I want to let us know where you're coming from. So I'll take a look at the board. Let us know where you're tuning in from. If you have any questions, keep them coming, and when we have a moment, we will go back and look at the questions and answer them as best we can. But can you believe it's 11 weeks? Honestly, I thought maybe 3 or 4 weeks. Never thought we would be going 11 weeks in a row. And it's exciting. And I'm excited to present. It's the highlight of my week. And here we go. So let's get started. Today we're going to go over our dust filtration system. So I'm going to walk over to the cabinet. Come with me. And we are going to be targeting our HEPA filtration bags. Now these bags right here, you have 11 bags. These are in your 2034, 2034 VX, and 2034 VXA. So you have 11 HEPA filter bags. Now I cheated because I changed them yesterday except for one. And that one I'm going to change for you today. But however, I have a video of us doing that process yesterday. Let's take a look at the bags. Now these look like simple bags. Do they work? How do they work? These are actually really great. It's a great filtration system. Kind of getting into this, I realize, I've always thought we have great equipment, but this is really a great filtration system because when I opened the doors yesterday, there was no debris, there was no dust on this table here where the bags are collected. So when you pull out the bags, you can tell that there is some debris inside. And I'm going to show you one of my bags here. This is from yesterday. Okay, and you can kind of see that there is a little bit of dust in there. Okay, this is your debris. None of that is escaping into the open. It's contained. That's why it's HEPA filtration. That's why you want to have a good filtration system to contain all that dust, to contain all that debris. Okay, so when is it time to change your bags? Good question. We get asked this question often. Typically, I say, okay, change them in a year. You're good. If you change them in a year, that's great. However, if you're blasting 10 hours or less a week, a year is great for you. But if you start blasting 20 hours a week, 40, 50, some of you are going like 60 hours a week of blasting, you need to change your bags out quicker. These are coated, they're HEPA bags, they're breathable. However, inside there is a real slick surface. This slick surface is Teflon coating. So think of your pans, your nonstick pans, that has that coating on there. So when you cook an egg, that egg is sliding all over the place. That's what's happening to your bag. So that dust and debris is sliding down into your hopper, into your disposable liner. Okay, we'll get to that later. So your HEPA bags, they have a Teflon coating, but over time that coating starts to wear. Just like a pan, it doesn't last forever, that nonstick surface. You have to replace it. That's where we come in now, is replacing our bags. So you have that Teflon coating that's kind of worn over use. So you have, if it's worn, what happens, you have that fine dust particulate that kind of sits in on that woven bag, on that coating. Therefore, what happens is your dust or your cabinet may seem a little more cloudy. Now you're like, hey, it's not as clean as it once was. Okay, two things you can do. You can use your hand shaker. You can thoroughly shake these by hand. You can use an air gun if you wanted to, or it may be time to change your bags. So this is where we're at today. We're going to change our bags. It's really important. If you're one of those customers that hasn't changed your bags in 5 years, 6 years, it's time to change them. And you know what? It's not that hard. It took me about 30 minutes, 25, 30 minutes. If you have the right tools, it's going to be quick. Do it on some downtime. So let's go ahead and we're going to call for the video right now. I want you to take a look at it and get an idea of what it's like to change the bags, and then I'll come back and answer some questions. So do we have that video ready to go? Today I'm going to show you how to change your dust filtration bags on the model 2034, 2034 VX, and 2034 VXA. Now it's not that dust is going to come through the bags, because you can see here everything looks clean. You open the back of this filtration area and there's no piles of abrasive or dust. This is what the bags are doing their job. They're containing the dust, the particles are containing all that debris in the bag. Before we remove these bags, because remember we have dust and debris that could be sitting inside this, especially when they're worn bags. So I'm going to bring my trash can, just going to kind of set it here, but I'm going to take my air gun and I'm going to blow off and free any particles, dust particles that could be on these bags. We're going to take our 5/16 bit here and then we're going to loosen the hose clamps. Okay. So I'm going to loosen these first so you can see some of that dust and that particles are here, kind of loose. I'm going to set my hose clamp up here. There we go. Now let's go to the other side. Take it off the hinge. Okay, so now we can you always want to make sure, remember how this entered. So take a look at the bar. It's cut. This part goes to the back that goes around this baffle area, around this area here. So we're going to take these out. And now we have access to this side. So you can tell with the cut, this goes to the back of your dust collector. So we want to make sure that we enter it on the side, in the right direction. We're going to slide this through. And we're going to hook the little loops. There we go. Just kind of tighten that down with your fingers. You can tighten them later. Just want to get it set in place. So now we can bring this over. Okay, so now the bar is in place. So the hose clamp I'm keeping in the center of the the rubber seal. So you want to make sure that you have all your tools. You wear a mask, you wear your goggles, have your vacuum, have an air gun, install your 11 bags, and make sure they're fitted nice and tight over the flange. Okay. All right, so I hope that was beneficial for you to kind of see the concept of changing out your bags. I always say I'm not mechanical, but tools really help in knowing the right tools. So you want to make sure that you have everything ready when you start to change out your bags. Don't forget to remove your shaker handle bar, real easy to remove. And what's really important is making sure that all the heads are facing you. So this makes it easy when you change them again, that you have easy access to these heads, and it'll make it easy to change out your bags. Okay, so let's go back, and I have one bag here. I'm going to change this out so you can see that live, and let me know if you have any questions. So what I have here is I have a 4-inch extender on a 5/16 bit, and we're going to move this to about 8. Okay, going to remove this. Slide this bag up. Okay, what's important here is this rubber seal. Okay, so you want to make sure that this always stays intact. Sometimes it gets caught up in the bag, but you want to make sure you pull it out of the bag and put it around the flange. Okay, so we're going to remove the hose clamp. I'm going to change to my Phillips bit. Okay. Real easy there. We're going to grab a new bag. Okay, what's important here is your seam. So on the video, we talked about folding the excess over. Keep it away from the seam. Okay, so I'm going to pull some of this over when I put it on the flange, and I just need to make sure I stay away from the seam. Okay, I'm going to grab my screw. Kind of get that in place, grab my drill. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to change out my bit. I'm going to go back to this bit, the 5/16 bit here. We're going to place our hose clamp. Now again, you want to make sure it's in the direction to where you can reach it. We'll place this over. And what I noticed yesterday is when I was putting this on, you want to make sure that this is straight. Because if you twist and then you kind of clamp it down, your dust and debris can get caught here. So you want to make sure that this is nice and straight. I'm going to place this over. I might have to loosen that hose clamp a little bit. There we go. All right. And I am going to loosen it just a tad, just because I want to make sure that I have enough room to fold my bag. I think it's getting caught on something in the back. Okay, so we have a nice fold here, and then we're going to go ahead and tighten this down. There we go. Need to make sure that it's nice and tight, okay? When you remove your dust filtration bags, you're going to get a little bit of that dust on this table area. You need to make sure you clean it, so your vacuum, using a cloth, making sure it's clean, because when you turn your cabinet back on and you start blasting, I suggest you open the back and to make sure there's no area or a little area of any debris. If there is, you need to make sure that that bag is nice and sealed with the hose clamp. So that's very important. You want to take a look after you blast for a few minutes, open it back up, and you will be able to tell if you have everything installed correctly. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to change out our disposable liner. Now, when we look at our disposable liner, you'll notice that there is so much, look at this, it's like flour. Okay, this is all of your trash. This is crushed glass, crushed abrasive. Okay, so this is not usable abrasive. Take a look. So I did pull some out, and this looks like absolute flour. Okay, this is not usable. So the system does a really good job at separating your good media from your dust and debris. Okay, because this is just unusable abrasive. This is very fine. You're probably looking at about a 400 mesh when it comes to your debris. That's what's in your trash. So you have your good sand that goes back into your cabinet. This is your good sand. Now this is worn abrasive here, but take a look at the difference. You can even see the powder on my fingers compared to this abrasive. Now this is 150 grit, and this has been used for a few hours. Okay, so you can tell some of it's like sugar, and then you have your dust is like flour. Okay, so it's really important to change out your abrasive. I always recommend pumping out all of your old abrasive and then put in a new bag. Some people like to add, but what happens, you're just mixing old with new. And I would take everything out, pump it out, and then put a new bag of abrasive in. And that will give you an efficient 50 pounds to work with, and then you're not going to have a mixture of powder and sugar. So you want good abrasive in your cabinet, okay? So we're not baking here. We're talking about eggs, flour, sugar, just trying to, those are things that you work with all the time. I looked at this and I'm like, this is like coconut flour. Okay, and then this is like your coconut sugar, all right? All right, so let's take a look at let's change out our bag. So when we're looking at these when we're looking at this disposable liner, sometimes I find people that they want to use like a trash bag. It needs to be thick because you don't want this ripping in the back. There's a plug here. Okay, this plug is gonna, when you change out your abrasive, we're gonna put the plug, I forgot something. Let me grab this real quick. Let me back up one step. You have a hopper. Your dust collector bags, your dust goes through the bags, down into your hopper, into your disposable liner. When you change this out, you want to make sure that you have anything that's sitting here fall into your bag. So I'm going to take a little rubber mallet. I'm just going to kind of tap it a little bit. Don't go crazy. Just a little tap, and you can kind of see that dust kind of coming down into that bag, all right? That's what we want. The next thing that we can do is there's a plug here. See that plug? So we're just going to kind of push it up into this area. There's like a little opening. Just going to push it up there. Okay, great. And now we're going to cut. Before I cut the zip tie, I'm going to seal off my dust. So I'm going to take a little zip tie, and we're going to put it here. What this does is it seals in any of that debris, and it's not going to escape up when I remove the bag. So I'm going to take these pliers here. Okay. And this is your trash. Again, you know, I love blasting. I love our cabinets. But the more that I'm digging into our cabinets, I realize we have a good product. And it's nice that we're manufactured direct, so it gives me the chance to play with everything. I'm going to take a disposable liner. So let's talk about ordering your supplies. The dust collector bags are 11 bags. You buy them on our online store, one price for all 11 bags. Don't replace one, replace them all. Your disposable liners are 5 to a pack. And they're very inexpensive. So here's what's important, because you saw the first bag, it was on the floor. The sand was on the floor, the abrasive. So you want to place this over, and you want to make sure that your bag touches the floor. So I'm going to kind of get this started here. Make sure my zip tie is going in the right direction. So you want to make sure that you gather it with your zip tie. And pull on this. Make sure it's nice and tight and that the bag hits the floor. We're going to pull the plug. And now you're ready to go. I would clip this just to make sure that it won't poke anybody when they come down close. That's it, guys. Your dust collector bags, your disposable liner, We have some downtime. Want to make sure that you change those out. So I'm going to come around. We're going to go over some other items. Okay, so what do I have here? Sleeves. Have you ever had your sleeves kind of wear or they look like they're worn? Replace them. It's $31, 31 and change to replace your sleeves. What's important here is there's a little head. You just want to unscrew that, remove the hose clamp, and put on the new sleeves. Okay? And when you put the new sleeve on, put the hose clamp. What's important, what's key, is this hose clamp has to be flush. As long as it's flush and you tighten down the hose clamp, you're good to go. Real simple on changing out your sleeves. Okay, your foot switch valve, we talked about this a few sessions ago. On the foot switch valve, it's located underneath your pressure pot. You only need to replace the inside. You just unscrew the side plates, pull out the rubber tube sleeve with the metal core, and replace that item. And that is it when it comes to your foot switch valve. And then your other item, if you've had your cabinet for like a couple years or a year, always make sure you have a rubber tube sleeve and a metal core on hand. You want to take a look. Your nozzle is about 40 hours of usage before you should replace that. Your media, the same thing. You want to make sure your foot switch valve, it really depends, let's say about 180 to 200 hours. It all depends on how much blasting you're doing, how coarse your grit is. The coarse grit is great because it speeds up the blasting time, but it can wear your parts a little quicker. Same as using silicon carbide. It's very sharp. It'll wear your nozzles a little bit faster, as well as some of your hoses. So you just need to keep an eye on your hoses as well. So we talked about our sandblast hose. You want to, if it's been like a year or so, I would kind of pinch it to make sure there's no soft areas. If there's a soft area, then you know this is the area that's going to wear, and you should have a hose on hand. There's nothing like being in the middle of production and all of a sudden you have sand going everywhere because there's a little pinhole on your sandblast hose. So we talked about nozzles, sandblast hose, foot switch valve, your sleeves, changing out your disposable liner, as well as your HEPA filtration bags. Okay, so if you've had your system for a while and you haven't done any maintenance, let's go ahead and get started. Doesn't take that long. If I can do it, I always say anybody can do it. I am not a mechanical person. So I showed you how to do it, and get to work, all right? So let's move on to our next project. Let me take a look at the screen. We got John. Hi, John. How are you doing? Thank you for joining us. Colin, thank you for joining us. It says here, is it possible to view the previous streams? Absolutely. If you go to our YouTube channel, Sandcarving, there's a playlist called Virtual Trade Shows, and it has all the sessions that we've done for you to view. So we hope that the training, that you can look at them and kind of capture something from one of the sessions that may help you or offer a tip for you that might help you in your business. We have Nancy, thank you. We have Jim, Craig, good to have you joining us. Thank you. Shoot over your questions as they come up. And we're going to introduce April to kind of explain our project that we have. We're going to be doing some awards. So if you want to join us, April, you can come over here. I'm just going to explain to you what we're going to do. All right, so we have April from our custom mask department. So she's the one that sets up your artwork when you need us to make the stencils for you, right? All right, so are our customers keeping you busy?
Yes.
Yes.
Very busy.
All right. So what are you most busy with today? I know after this segment you have a lot of work to do.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of monument.
A lot of monument stuff and a lot of just
Awards.
Award stuff, just running things through. Pretty much that's what we do is process the orders already made.
All right. So what I have, April, is we brought on a project here, and my project is this crystal award. So it has a base. We are going to show you how to UV glue this base here. So this is our award. Was this our Arrowhead Award, I believe? I believe it was the Arrowhead Award. Apex. So this right here, you have a Prestige Award. So the base is already glued on. And then the other award that April liked I'm just pulling her here so she can kind of see what she chose. She really liked this star award. And what you have to do with this is you have to glue the top down. So you would glue the star to the base here.
Yes.
So in the catalog, our Edge catalog, she really liked this award because of the star. It also, this piece also comes like with a diamond, a globe. You have many different options. Right. Now with choosing your piece, the other part is setting up your artwork to make it creative. So that's what you're going to show us today, right?
Yes.
You gave me a creative piece.
Yes, I did.
All right, so we're going to have her walk us through her setup of the artwork. She's using Illustrator today. Okay, so we're going to kind of step over here. We're actually doing a front and back etch. So we wanted to do a little bit of a carve. I wanted to show you not so much a carve, but a deeper engraving with the sand, just to kind of make an award pop, not like such a traditional everyday award, but to create something a little bit different.
Right. So the first thing we did was I had to go and try to find something online to do an award for. So I Google searched for anything I could think of for an award. Created this from scratch. This is not something that this is not real in a sense. So
We're just doing a mock-up for you, kind of giving you ideas.
Everything is just created.
Created, okay.
Yeah, there's
We
nothing
need to
original about
tap
it.
into that
As
creative
far
mind.
as- yeah, exactly.
She has
You
so many
made me
tips.
work yesterday.
I did, yes.
Okay, so first thing I did was I went in and Google searched we wanted a tree. You
Right.
said you wanted something with a tree or something kind of, something simple but something creative.
Right.
So I went on Vector Stock and I found this olive tree. Now, from that I figured, okay, what's an olive tree in forests?
Right.
Not really, more parks. You can kind of find things in parks. So I found this on Vector Stock. But if you can see here, when I pulled this up, the leaves, if you can remember from a few sessions back, I was telling you that there was
I know we're going to try and pull up your computer screen so
Yeah.
people can see what we're talking about, but go ahead and explain,
Okay,
and then
so
we'll pull it up here in just a
from a few
moment.
sessions back, we were talking about leaves and how the areas of
Oh, the points.
the points.
Right.
Yes, the points. They have a way of, when you're washing out, sometimes swaying. So we have to make those stronger. And
Right.
every single one of these leaves kind of had that, and so I was like,
Okay,
oh,
so I did make
shoot.
you work.
Yes, you did. But
So-
that's okay.
So I remember, because I'm learning, when April comes on, I'm learning from every session that she comes on. So you wanted to square those off or round them out a little
round
bit.
them out, and I wanted to add a few things because you said you wanted a stage carve kind of have
yes.
some depth and definition. So I took this tree and I decided, if you can see here, the leaves still have points, and the inner parts of these leaves. Let me
Can you zoom in there?
zoom in.
There we go.
The inner parts of these leaves on the other one were very, very skinny, very skinny. I left this one kind of empty so I could show you what I
Kind of
did.
circle it
So
so they
right
can
here.
see. Okay.
So if you can see the inners are some of them are thinner than others.
I see that.
I actually had to go in and fix that as well. Part of what I did was add a stroke.
Okay.
a
To the
white
inside.
stroke.
A white stroke to the inside. Okay.
Actually, it's all around the leaf, but
Oh.
because it's open down here, because this whole area is open, I had to fix the entire.
Okay.
I had to put a stroke on the entire leaf to make it work, and it's just a slight stroke, not to change anything. If you see here, I did 0.15 stroke
Okay.
on this one. So what I did was I rounded out the corners.
Yep.
And I took these inners and I kind of just ever so slightly opened it up. And I did that on all of them because I wanted to have a good outcome on my piece. I wanted you to have a good outcome on your
Yes.
piece when you went to wash it out and engrave it. So, and you're not really you can see it up close where I adjusted it, but when you zoom out, you can't really
You
tell.
can't even tell.
You can't really tell the difference, but it does make a lot of difference on the mask.
Right.
And I just knew that we had to do that. So then I know we wanted mountains,
Right.
we wanted something in the background, so I added these mountains. I kind of drew them, and it was also from a picture from Vector Stock as well. I saw the mountains, but we didn't pull from that one.
Two different
because
ones.
there was two different ones, and I just put those two together and made what I wanted.
I'm going to interject here for a moment just to remind you, when you're setting up your artwork, black equals blast.
Yes.
So everything that's black in our design is what will be etched.
Yes.
Okay, so go
And
ahead.
if you notice the tree, also I added this
Area, it's like white.
area that's white. I'll change it to a different color too. I added this area in here,
Okay.
white area, so that you could get that, so that you can get that depth and
Kinda
that carved
little
look
dimensional-
and the
little
dimension,
dimensional etching.
that you needed.
Okay.
So we'll change that back. So then I pulled up the template.
Okay.
And I just set up my piece on the template. Originally, it was going to be a circle, but I didn't like the circle, so I made it match the template. And of course, you know me,
She likes to change
I
things.
like to change things all the time.
But they're good changes.
so sometimes.
So let me stop real quick
So-
because you pulled a template. So we do have templates for our Edge catalog
Yeah.
on most items. So if you're ordering something like this award or like the Prestige Award, just ask us for the template and we can send it to you. And it allows you to kind of set up your artwork inside this template.
Yes.
And that's what April is working in now.
Yes, and so as you can see, I didn't go all the way to the edge of the template here. I actually made this smaller, and as you, coming from a few weeks ago, we clip masked.
Right.
Do you remember that? So I did that again. If I click on this a few times, it should show up.
Okay.
Anyway, see
There-
if you can
there we
see,
go.
you can see all the rest of the tree is there.
So hang on real quick. Don't. So circle the area that is a clip mask there. There we
So
go.
right here, I just basically took this outer line right here and made it smaller to fit around this tree, so that, and then I clip masked them together.
So if you're interested in the clip masking part, she went into depth on this project with using this tool
With the Maddie.
with the Maddie. So doing the stone engraving, the pet memorial.
Right.
She really talked about using
to-
a clipping or how to do
how
a
to
clip,
do the clip
mask.
mask, right.
So that's an illustrator that she was
Yes.
using, and she did the Maddie stone. So that's just something, if it's something like you want to know a little bit more about it, you can go back to the session with the stone engraving.
Yes, and you'll see it on there, and it says Maddie. It's a rock. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So I also, if you'll notice, I also created, these are a lot thicker now, the branches. I had to thicken those up as well, because I wanted to make sure, if you can see here, I'm pulling this dot out. I wanted to make sure that they're going to stick and wash out as well.
And we want them to show up because
You
we're
want
doing
them
it from
to
the
show
back
up.
of the,
Yes.
we're blasting the back
Yes.
of the ward, viewing through
Very
the front.
important too. When you're doing a back etch on our product, you want to make sure that you flop your image,
Okay.
especially if it has text on it,
So
because you want to
flop,
make sure
So on the back,
reflect,
flop,
reverse,
mirrored.
You just want to mirror it,
yes.
because it's going to be showing through whichever way you need it. You want it to show through the front the proper way. So that's really important to note. And so then we did the front piece as well. I just kept the entire image just because it's easier that way. And then I just added some made up text here. I just went to name generator and
Okay, pulled up a
generated a
name.
name, yes.
All right.
And added some text, and that's our award. And the font that I used today is Garamond.
Garamond.
There's so many Garamond fonts, but I just chose one that I liked the best and used that.
And you have the name a little bit larger, a little
Yes.
bolder.
Yes.
Okay. And
So I have the name larger and bolder. I have presented too a little bit bolder. These, I think Parks Preservation Award is the same size text as for outstanding service as well.
Okay. So we have, I noticed the Newman. I'm looking at the A, the little line on the A and the
Yes.
ends. We talked about that before, these little thin lines in a
Yes.
font. So did
So
you do?
if it was too small, Because this is a 22-point font, I
Okay.
didn't have to really add a stroke to this one, but if you wanted to, just to ensure, you might want to go in and add like a 0.15 stroke. You can definitely do that just to, if you can see, if you notice that it really did. Hold on one second. Let me Command Z that. So this is normal, and then adding a 0.15 stroke really did make it, you can see just that ever so slight stroke made a big difference.
So that,
So-
by making the font a little bolder,
A little
to etch
bolder.
deeper, that's, I can easily put this on a 5 mil.
Right.
And that's what we did today. So we put it on a 5 mil so I can etch a little deeper. And
you
I'm
can
going to
get
etch
some-
these, the text,
Yes.
add a little color fill just to kind of brighten up the text against that background that's kind of busy. So we have a lot going on in this award. So I'm going to mask the award next. We're going to get ready to blast it, and we're going to UV glue.
Okay.
So if you can hang with us for a little bit.
Sure, absolutely.
And we'll make sure if you kind of keep an eye on our questions
Yes.
and answer them as they come up.
Will do.
All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at our award. And I need some glass cleaner. You always want to clean your glass, clean the surface when you're applying a stencil. And I'm going to set my base aside here. And I did put on the mask for the back already. I'm going to save some time because I tend to go over. I'm not sure why. Okay, I like to pinch the mask down on the sticky side to kind of create a little bit of a pull tab. Okay. So looking at this mask, she has a line right here that kind of covers that beveled edge. So I'm going to line up that line to that beveled and kind of center in the lines that we have here, okay? Just to kind of give me
A center point.
center. And April's nice and everything, but don't let her fool you. If I put the mask on crooked, she lets me hear it. So I have to make sure I do a good job.
I'll make sure she knows.
And then I want to make sure that underneath here, that line, that looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to take my squeegee. I'm going to grab my tools.
Same thing with something off-centered. If something's off-centered, I always notice it.
If you haven't noticed, she has a little bit of pet peeve with things that are straight. Apply pressure. I'm going to start to remove this stencil, or I'm sorry, the clear liner. Okay. Now, with these alignment lines, they need to be taped up. So I'm going to grab my painter's tape. And I'm just going to apply some tape here just to kind of cover these alignment lines because they will show through. And there's nothing worse than spending all this time blasting a piece and you have an alignment line show through. Just all that time and effort wasted. So you do want to always make sure that all your alignment lines are taped up. Okay. You can use the rubber roller if you want. I always like to use my wire wheel roller as well, just to perforate that thin membrane, releasing any trapped air. You can see her lettering there, looks really nice. Everything looks clean. Let me flip this over now. I'm going to lay this on my cover paper. Now, if you noticed, I never laid my glass on this carpeted table because I know that this can scratch my glass. So I always want to make sure that I have a carrier underneath or that my glass is protected when it's just against the carpeted table. You never want abrasive to rub up and scratch. It can scratch your glass. So removing that clear liner. We'll move these out of the way. Okay.
Everything I see is always on paper, so seeing it on the actual work finished is a reward for me.
Nice. And then I'm seeing the other side of seeing you set everything up and the time and and creating something new.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to use a little bit of my vinyl tape here because I'm going to etch a little deeper. Do you want to take a look at the screen, April, and see if we have any questions? Now, the reason why I peeled away some of that mask material is because I don't want it to interfere with the top mask. So I have 2 masks here. Is that pretty common for people to offer? Occasionally, I'll find customers offering that. It takes a little bit more work, so obviously you're going to charge more for it, especially if you're carving, you're going to charge a little bit more. I could hear Billy saying, "What kind of tape job are you doing right now?" Can you hear him? Yeah. All right, so I have my piece here. I did not use the wire wheel roller. Okay, I can see a little air bubble right in here, up in here. Just going to use our wire wheel roller. I'm using 5mm self-stick film. I tend to use a lot of self-stick because there's no layer of glue to blast through, and then the stencil removes easy off of the wart, and that's what I like. I like to be able to paint and to make sure that I can remove that stencil quickly. So I'm going to head over to my cabinet, and someone was messing with the cabinet here.
Liz, before you do that, I had a question last week about the wire wheel brush.
Yes.
I'm not sure if I answered it properly, but somebody had asked if you can put the wire or do the wire wheel brush over a photo. Do you not want to do that, or do you want to keep that protected?
So that's a really good question. Using a wire wheel roller over a photo. Very good question. I will tend to say go around the photo. If you have text, use a wire wheel roller on the text. Because sometimes people, they're too aggressive with a wire wheel, and you have fine dots. And in those fine dots, if you're too aggressive with that wire wheel, it can start to lift up those dots. And then therefore it's going to ruin your picture. So if you're careful, and if you have an air bubble on your photo you just can't get rid of, be very gentle in that area, and you can use a wire wheel roller. But sometimes when I tell people to use a wire wheel roller, and they're like going over it, and they're multiple times, I mean, come on.
I did make sure to tell them very gently, because I wasn't, yeah. Also, it looks like somebody's asking you why you use 2 different tapes.
Okay,
I'm curious too.
All right, why do I use 2 different tapes? All right, so we have the painter's tape on the front, which I'm just doing a simple etch. I'm not carving too deep. I am going to do a little bit of depth. I'm using 5mm, so I have my painter's tape. Because I'm etching deeper, and I have a lot of wide open areas, as you can see on April's artwork, she left me a lot of wide open areas that I'm going to do a little carving or a little etching a little deeper. I want to make sure I have a good tape that's sand resistant. This tape is not sand resistant. Masking tape, painter's tape is not sand resistant. The vinyl tape will hold up. So if I'm blasting a wine bottle going deep, you will always find me 90% of the time using the vinyl tape. That's why I'm using 2 different tapes. Okay, abrasive imaging. Matthias, how are you doing? We have Roland, and we have Jim, and Ron. Very nice. Thank you for joining us. All right, so we have our 2034 cabinet. We're going to lower it because I am not this tall. I wish I was. April, you could probably blast without lowering it. I am going to start with a 40-pound, around a little under 40 pounds, maybe about 38. First, I'm going to etch is the front part. What's important here is that I don't want to touch my text. I need to keep my fingers away from the text because I don't want to loosen the centers of my letters. So that's something I have to remember when I'm etching. I'm going to etch the tree first, nice and deep. I'm going to do my best to focus my nozzle on the center of the tree to kind of create a little bit of a dip, and then I'm going to peel a few of these mountains up and do some little light frosting. We're not carving as a commission piece. I'm not doing artistry work. There are plenty of artists that are out there. They are qualified, they do commission work, they do beautiful work. This is not that. This is just creating a couple steps and offering something a little different in your artwork, in your in your award, giving you the opportunity to make a little bit more money, a little more profit on your piece. You're already in there blasting. A couple more minutes in setting up your artwork, a couple more minutes blasting, it can pay off. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. The two tools I have a little X-Acto knife. You'll see why I need that. And then I have a picker. And I'll try to make sure to keep my head away from the shot here. Let me turn this on. All right. Now, of course, if this goes wrong, I'll blame April for the artwork. Okay, so I see here, my tape here has kind of caused this mask to want to lift up a little bit on this side, just because I'm pushing it. I was holding it and I'm pressing this tape. So I'm just going to press that down. First, let's get that membrane blasted away. Going to kind of target these leaves a little bit, just kind of make these leaves stand out. So a little bit of depth in there. I'm using 150 grit. We just want these leaves to stand out. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of sweep across over the trunk and the branches, just kind of sweep across here. And I have a target that I want to do is right here in the middle of the tree here. I'm just trying to make this area just a little bit deeper than everything else. And I don't want to stop in the middle. I'm just kind of sweeping up to the top and then down. Hopefully you can see that okay. All right, so now we're just going to kind of come over to this other branch over here. Just follow that branch around. Just creating a little bit more depth. Okay, so now I'm going to run over the mountain scene. Okay, so with the mountain scene, I'm going to target the top of the mountain. You can see where, I'm hoping you can see where my stream is. My sand stream, I'm just targeting right up to the top of the edge of the mountain. Because mountains are not flat, and we're just trying to create a little bit of a shape, kind of targeting like a dimensional look here. Now again, I'm going to target the second mountain that's open before I start peeling away some of this masking to do a little shading. and let's do the top. I'm just going to target the very top of the mountain. Now I really wanted to use a 1/16 nozzle, but it would take me a lot longer to do this project with a smaller nozzle. And again, I only have an hour. Okay, and I want to make sure that I have these branches nice and deep. So I'm just going to kind of etch these branches before I start peeling away some of my mountain scene here. Okay, so I'm going to take my poker and I'm going to peel up. And before I do this, I do like to lower my pressure. So I'm just going to lower it. Anytime I do any like shading, I like to work with a lower pressure. So I'm going to be right around 20. With a little bit of distance, I'm just going to kind of shade over that open area. Okay. And now I'm going to peel up my second area, but you'll notice that this area is still connected and I want to peel this area up. So I'm going to cut this with my little X-Acto knife. Now, this is something you can fix in your artwork. There we go. So I'm just going to do it again, a little shading here. Okay, and then we're going to peel this area up. And then I have one more area, or two more actually. Lower pressure when you shade, or if you're going to do any shading on any of your pieces. It does help you not to overblast, because you already have a deeper etch and you want to make sure that you don't mess up your piece here. Okay. All right, there we go. So you want the pieces to kind of, you don't want a big blob. They want to be individual areas. Okay, so now I have my mountain scene etched. I have a couple dimensional pieces. You can see where this is deeper and lighter. Okay, and then we have deeper area in our tree. So now let's go ahead and etch the front. And I always like to etch the name a little deeper. See, this is already etched, but now we're just going to go for depth. I'm going to increase my pressure just a little bit. Stick it around 30. Now, a few sessions ago, I think maybe it was our third session, we talked about burn marks, how to read your Photomask. And that's really important. Some people, they'll favor one side over the other, and so their burn marks or their blasting marks will be on one side. And so it's really important, you want a nice even blast take a look at where your blasting pattern is. So looking at this, I'm going to use my little air gun here. You can see exactly where my nozzle is. This is a little bit darker. And you can kind of see I have a nice even blast. Now if I was blasting, and let's say I just focused on the two, my pattern here is going to be a lot darker. See how dark that is compared to the rest? So I'm focused on this area. And if you ever want to know where you're focused when you're blasting, you can actually read your blasting pattern. And that's really important, especially when you're new to blasting. You want to make sure that you have a nice even pattern. All right, so let me just kind of fix that up, because you can tell my 2 is a lot deeper than the rest. So let me go over here. Okay. All right, so I am ready to clean this up. We're just going to use my little air gun here. And then let's go ahead and get ready to paint our piece. Okay. All right. So let's see here. Okay, so we have Craig with us. Okay, so Craig is saying that the pieces of tape cut pulled out won't mess with the circulation of your abrasive. They do get separated. So that's a really good question, because you did see me pull off some of these pieces and I left them in the cabinet. Now those big pieces will fall down and sit on top of your pressure pot. There's a screen there. And over time, you might have some pieces of photoresist there. Go ahead and lift up the grate inside, get a little shop vac, and then you can vacuum those up. Sometimes I get a piece of tape and I kind of collect them with my piece of tape. So if you kind of are in a hurry and you start throwing in your strips of photoresist, it will collect in the top of your screen on top of your pressure pot. It should not go down into your pressure pot. Sometimes little bits and pieces can. It's very rare, but it can happen. And that's when you get a clog in your nozzle, or so remove that nozzle and you'll have a piece of debris in there. So it will work its way through, but if they're big pieces, they're just going to sit on top of the screen and you can use your shop vac to clean that up. Okay. So we have here our piece, and I'm using some black paint. Today I'm going to be using our hardcore paint. It's from Montana. Now, when it comes to the nozzles, I had a hard time with this nozzle. This was the first nozzle. This is the nozzle that it came with. And it did not spray well. It sprayed like in 2 parts, top, bottom, missing the middle. I had some extra nozzles. These did not work. The gold dot skinny, which is my favorite, would not work with this particular can. Now, this is a high pressure paint. So it's a high gloss, it's high pressure. So you need it, not all nozzles will work with a high pressure with a glossy paint. So I used a blue dot from Art Primo. Just light strokes here. We're just going to add a little bit of color to the text just so it stands out. And you can tell this can of paint is not liking my nozzle. I'm going to take a good look at this. That actually looks pretty good. I'll do one more on the thank you down here. There we go. Just going to use a little dryer just to kind of speed up that process. Anytime you deal with glossy paints, the glossy paint, it takes a little longer for it to dry, so you need to make sure you allow for dry time. And this one, you can tell, high pressure paint, glossy. Okay.
Liz, so why are you painting the front and not the back?
The only reason why I'm painting the front is because the back we have all that etching, so it's a big etching pattern. The text, I have a feeling it's going to get a little lost and you're not going to be able to see it.
Yeah,
And
right.
as always, we're sand carving, we're creating depth. We want that recognition to stand out. We want that recognition to be pronounced. If you do a recognition piece and you can't really read the text, what's the point of it? So we're going to add a little bit of color just to kind of brighten up that name. After all, he did win an award, so let that name be shown, right?
Clara won the award.
All right. I'm doing the fingerprint test. You can see a little fingerprint right in there. I'm going to go against all of my training, and I'm going to clean this a little early. You need to allow for dry time when it comes to painting or when it comes to painting your pieces. So I'm just going to kind of start to clean this up just a little bit. I'm going to peel this away. We're going to get ready for UV gluing. Okay. Now I wasn't looking to have a lot of paint. I was just looking just to highlight the name. Okay, so let me remove this. I'm going to use a little bit of water so I don't smear any of this abrasive. I don't want it to rub against my, oh, perfect. Okay, so I'm just going to use a little bit of water here. And April, I'm already running over time. Could you bring my base and bring it over to the
Absolutely.
award area? Okay, so I'm just going to kind of clean the back here. Just kicking off that abrasive or rinsing off that abrasive.
Liz, these pieces come in these really nice boxes. Do they always come in those boxes, or do you have to special order them?
Good question. When you're dealing with optic crystal, it comes with a presentation box, and that is your presentation box.
Nice.
So it also makes, you'll see the pattern or the shape of the award in that box.
Just to keep it secure in shipping.
Right,
and
so
all
if
of that.
someone's presenting in the box, they have something to show the award.
Got it.
All right, that looks actually really good. Okay, so I'm going to grab my
need
blue
to
towel. If you can
Clean
grab-
that.
So when you're dealing with UV gluing, you need to make sure you use the proper glue. UV gluing is, you'll find if you Google it or if you go to Amazon, there are so many areas that you can, so many places you can buy UV glue. What's important, it needs to dry clear. That's the most important, and it needs to bond glass to glass. Okay, so we sell a UV glue, and here's our UV glue. You can tell that it's in an opaque container, which is important.
Probably wanna
Okay,
clean
so
that
you,
base, huh?
it's because it activates to UV light. So we're going to go ahead and clean the base. You always need to have your surface clean when you're UV gluing. And just like I have this area here, I'm actually going to lift this up. I'm going to place it on my towel. Okay. And I like to have some glass cleaner nearby. Glass cleaner, I like to have my razor. Okay, and my UV glasses, very important. I'm going to grab my little target. April, can I have you hold this for me for just a moment?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're going to grab, the reason why I'm using my target, I thought about this the other day. Now you can create like a grid, but if you can find center instead of eyeballing it, maybe print out a grid, and then you can.
That's a good idea.
You can see through that area of where to align your award. Okay, so you want to make sure that you align it, that everything is, especially facing the right direction if that's needed. Okay, and then we have safety. These are UV glasses. You want to make sure you put those on. I have my light here, so my light's going to go on as soon as I'm ready. Okay, and I have everything ready, so now I'm just going to take my UV glue. There's two ways you can do this. One way is you can put a couple dots on the bottom, take your finger, smear it, and then clean your finger, and then press down. Hold it in place until it activates once you turn the light on. Or the other way that you can do it is once you line it up and you have it where you want it, you can lean back the award, and then you can apply a little bit of glue in here. Press down. And then we're going to go.
Doesn't take a whole lot.
No, not at all. So once you get it in place, we're going to go ahead and turn on the light. And I have some excess here. I'm just going to turn on the light to get it cured. I'm going to place a little bit of cleaner just so I can kind of scrape off my excess. Now I will tell you it's easier when your award base is nice and thick. If it's really thin, it may take a little bit longer. And I'm just kind of, we're going to bring this closer just so it can cure. There we go. It needs that UV light to cure. How long do you cure an award for? I would leave it for a good minute, a little over a minute. So you want to make sure that you spend that time, that extra few minutes, just to cure it so it's in its place. It's not going to break off. Sometimes I hear people where they UV glue and they're like, hey, I moved it around or I cleaned it and it just popped right off. It didn't cure long enough, or you did not have enough glue. Okay, so those are two reasons why that would come, or the award would separate from the base. Anytime you order awards, 90% of the time, the base is going to be separate, and you need to make sure that you have the ability to UV glue. You need to have a UV light, so use your electrolyte unit. You can use your Luminex, lift it up, and there's an on switch that you can just put this, and I'll show it to you now. There you go. And that's your way to UV glue if you wanted to UV glue using the Luminex. For those of you that have that, you can use that to do your UV gluing.
The glass cleaner doesn't affect the UV glue at all.
No, we're just
That's awesome.
putting it on the outside.
Things are good to
All
know.
right, I think this is good. Okay. Now, put some rubber feet on the bottom. Let's take a look here. You have your presentation box, but let's take a look at this award. So you have your carving in the back, a little bit of carving, not much, but just a little bit of dimensional etching there, a little bit of paint just to brighten up the text. And here's your award. And it looks nice on the beveled edge. That image just kind of magnifies. So here's the back of your image. Okay, and then here's the front there. And you can kind of just see that depth really shines through the back of the award when you view it through the front. Okay.
I just want to say all of this was done in a dress and heels, guys.
A dress and heels.
Right here.
Except for you caught me in my jeans yesterday changing
That's
out
the
the
only-
bags.
yeah.
Yeah, my jeans and boots. Still had to
That's
heel jeans and
necessary.
boots. Well, thank you, April, for joining us today. We really appreciate all the help. I know you have orders to get to, but appreciate you taking the time to come in and help us. So for the full video of, you can stay with me for just a moment, for the full video of how to change out the dust collector bags, we will have that on our YouTube channel. So we want to make sure that you know how to maintain your equipment. And so hopefully this helps you. Let us know if you have any questions. As always, we have dealers out there. So we have South America, we have Peru. Luis from R&Art is servicing that area. We have Matthias in Germany servicing a lot of Europe. Matthias with Abrasive Imaging. We have the Glass Scribe in UK. We have the Glass Tattoo, I believe, in Netherlands. And I'm trying to think here, Australia. We have Jeff servicing Australia and New Zealand, which I think Jeff needs a customer visit from me, right? All right, so we're so thankful you guys joined us today. We hope that you were able to capture a tip here and there that you can take with you back to your business, back to your shop. Let us know how we can help you. We're here for you. Go to Rayzist.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel because we have videos coming. They're coming weekly, guys. We have things coming at you, and so we're bringing training to you. We're bringing training to you. So Look us up on Instagram, tag us, share what you're doing, share it with us. We want to see what you're doing. We want to know that what we're doing, you're able to put it to work. So let us know how we can help you. Again, thank you for joining us.
Call us, ask questions as well.
Call us and ask questions.